Welcome back to Ideal Offseason, everybody. This is episode 3 in a series where basically I sit in the GM chair and take a look at all the numbers that a team has going for them, whether it's like finances or draft picks, and just try to put them in a better position going into next season. That doesn't mean they're going to win a championship or anything next year, but at least what I would do to try and give the fan base a little bit of hope that we know what we're doing. And in this episode, we got the Brooklyn Nets, per the request of a comment, actually. So please leave those comments. Let me know what other teams you guys want to see me do. I'm always happy to take comments. I want to give you guys what you want at the end of the day. But this is probably going to be the most challenging one yet, because as you can see, we're paying a lot of money right up here at the top to a team that really isn't winning very many basketball games. Like we can take a look here. The Nets aren't even in the play-in, and it's a weird situation, right? We even look at like our draft pick situation, and we don't have any picks for this year, so that's a little bit scary. So we got no picks this year. We owe a lot of money. We don't have a ton of cap space. What are we going to do with this team? Well, let's just start from the beginning. What are we currently working with? What does our team look like? Let's at least build out from what we have on the roster right now. So just going down the roster here, like Ben Simmons, I'm going to put him as, what do I put him as? Like backup power forward right now, like a backup ball handling 4. That's what I'm going to call him. We're going to put Cam Johnson here at the 4. Mikal Bridges is our 3. Dorian Finney-Smith, I guess a reserve wing that we got going on. Dennis Schroder is going to be our point guard. Cam Thomas has a team option. I'm definitely going to accept Cam Thomas's team option. So we're going to bring Cam back onto the team for next year. Day'Ron Sharpe, I mean, why not, right? I mean, he's all we got at center at the moment because Nick Claxton's a free agent. We got to figure out what we're doing with him. So Day'Ron's coming back. Noah Clowney, rookie from this year, hasn't really done. Was he a rookie from 2 years ago? He might even be at this point. I don't even remember. We got Dariq Whitehead coming in here, and then we have another big in Bates Jop. So this team doesn't look very good. It's not the worst team on paper, but this team doesn't make the playoffs, and it doesn't really do much else, right? And so why are we paying so much money to this team? That's the question. And there's two ways to look at that question, right? We can say like, hey, while we may not have a pick this year, and our draft capital doesn't necessarily look good the 2 years after that either, because 2026 we don't have a first round pick either. But then we're going to hit this little string of 2027 where we're going to start to have quite a few assets moving forward for teams that who knows what they look like at this point. Maybe the Suns aren't very good at this point. We'll have our own pick again in 2028. Maybe the Sixers have blown things up by then. The Mavericks, who knows? Maybe Luka's done with them by then. There's options there. But like, do we really want to just like sit and tank the next like 3 years? Like, I don't really know. And that's the complicated thing about this, right? Like, do we need to start acquiring assets now and tear this thing down, or do we try to build something here because we don't necessarily have a star player? Like Mikal Bridges, we kind of thought would maybe take that step, but it hasn't really happened yet. So I don't know. I kind of thought that Mikal Bridges was going to fall into more of an all-star caliber player this year, but I think what I've learned is that Mikal Bridges might just be like the best third option in the NBA, or maybe like a Chris Middleton type player, right? Like he could be on a championship team. I mean, he was in the finals with Phoenix and everything, but maybe that's just what he's going to be best at. And things can get better, obviously, and I'm not saying he can't keep improving, but that might just be where it goes for the time being. And so here's my thoughts, right? I'm looking at this roster, and we've got 1 year left on the Ben Simmons thing. No way we're going to be able to move Ben Simmons. That's impossible. Cam Johnson, he's on this contract for a while. That is what it is. Cam Johnson, solid enough basketball player. Mikal Bridges and Dorian Finney-Smith, 2 years left. Are we going to be able to put a competitive team together in 2 years and keep Mikal around? I don't know about that. And we only got 1 more year left of Schroder. And so what I might try to do is I think I'm going to try to move Schroder, and we're going to do a little bit of a throwback to our last episode actually with this, because I think it makes some sense. And I think we're going to look to move Mikal Bridges as well. And I'm already starting to formulate an idea of how we can make that happen. So now I'm here on the Spot Track app. I've done this like a couple times before. So I want to make a standard NBA trade with the Washington Wizards right here. And this is something we did in our Washington Wizards version of this episode. That was the last episode we did, so go watch that one. In essence, Dennis Schroder doesn't need to be on this team, right? We got a year left of him. He's a very solid basketball player, wants to be a starter somewhere. Like, he's made that very clear. He wants to start. The Wizards have no option at point guard going into the 2023-2024 season. Tyus Jones is a free agent. Maybe they draft somebody, who knows? But if they have the number 1 pick, they're probably taking Sarr, right? So what I'm thinking is I can give them Dennis Schroder, right? And they've got somebody named Landry Shamet who's on a non-guaranteed deal. So if we make this trade before it's like July something when his trade becomes guaranteed, we can take on Landry Shamet and we can just save the money. Like, this is all we need to do for the trade right here. Like, all we have to do is give them Dennis Schroder. He's all theirs. We take on Landry Shamet and just straight up cut him. We don't owe him anything. Like, they are doing us a favor of saving us a little bit of money so that we can try to actually make some money in this business again and give us some flexibility come free agency. But also, they get the point guard that they want. So I'm going to trade Dennis Schroder to Washington. All right, so this means I take Schroder out of here, and Dariq Whitehead is now our starting point guard. And, honestly, it'd probably be more so Cam Thomas or something like that. But we're gonna fix this, all right? This brings us up to $16 million in cap space. So that's enough to go get some people. And here's the thing, too, that I want to remember. Like, free agency is not what it used to be. People don't hit free agency really like that anymore. They'd rather sign contracts and get more money and then get traded, right? Because the NBA incentivizes you to stay with your team. They'll let you sign for more money then, and then they just want to get traded, which is not good for building good teams, because if you want to go sign with the Clippers like James Harden was doing, then they have to give players back and the team usually gets worse. Normally they don't just get garbage like Philly got for Harden, but that's something to keep perspective with here. So what I want to do now is I want to get into the lottery somehow this next year. I want to get a player that maybe I can start developing. Oh, damn, they got Sarr falling up. I don't know what's going on with this mock draft and everything. I just kind of wanted to see where the order was and everything. And this is what comes to mind right here, is this Memphis pick. Memphis has its own draft pick this year, and Memphis isn't very good, right? And that's why they've got the 6th pick here. They also have the right to another pick in this draft, if I remember correctly. I don't know. Yeah, 2024, Phoenix or Washington's pick. Washington has the right to swap its 2024 first-round pick, protected from selections 13 and 30, with Phoenix's 2024 pick, which is not going to happen. Memphis then has the right to swap its 2024 first-round pick for the less favorable of the two. So that means the Grizzlies are also going to get Phoenix's pick, which is right here. So that means they're probably going to get that pick as well. But Memphis, while they could use this pick, they're also trying to compete next year, and they're trying to set themselves up for flexibility so that they can go get themselves a win-now player to put around Ja, Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., guys like that, right? That's why they traded Adams. That's why they've looked to make some other moves on that team. So I'm thinking we try to make a trade with the Memphis Grizzlies. So I want to make a trade with Memphis, right? And what it's going to center around is Mikal Bridges here. So Mikal Bridges is who they're going to want. He's a 3rd player to put next to Ja and Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. That's a 4th player, but don't mind me. I'm just kind of talking right now and trying to think this through as I'm actually doing it. So they're taking on a guy like Mikal Bridges, right? A defender, 3-and-D guy. They've been looking for a wing for forever. This is the perfect solution to them, right? He's not making a crazy amount of money, but we can make something work with this. They've got some contracts that they can move to make this happen. Presumably, we're getting the 6th pick back in the draft, so let's just assume that's a part of it, right? And we're not touching Bane, we're not touching Morant, we're not touching Jackson, because there's a reason that they want these guys on their team. I think a good starting point is Zaire Williams. He's a guy that was the 10th pick just a couple years ago, kind of been a bust so far, but maybe we bring him over to Brooklyn and see if we can't, just salvage something out of him. So let me put Zaire in this trade, and we've got to move something else. My immediate thought is a Luke Kennard, but Brandon Clark might be a little bit more interesting. He's a little bit younger. He's been a proven player to them. They've kind of said before that they're probably going to look to move Clark. He's coming off an injury. If I throw Brandon Clark into this, what happens? So that trade in itself can work. We can make that trade happen. Is that a fair deal for Mikal Bridges, though, who is a young, good basketball player that averages 21 points a game, shooting from 3? 36% from 3, Like, this is a good basketball player, really good defensive player, obviously. It seems like we should probably get a little more out of him, especially since he still has 2 years on the contract and it's a very team-friendly deal. I don't think there's exactly another player that I really want to throw into this to make it work. Like Vincent Williams Jr. and Gigi Jackson are both players that are very interesting, but Gigi is someone that they'd have to have the team option go through for anyway. And Vince's deal is not guaranteed either, so we can't make those deals work right now. But what other kind of picks do they have? What else can I take on? They've got their 2025 first round pick. They've got this 2024 one as well. I'd like to have draft picks a little bit sooner than normal. So Memphis probably thinks that they're going to be pretty good after getting Mikal Bridges, and this 2025 first round pick probably isn't going to be anything too crazy for them. But that's something that I'm willing to take on because I don't have any picks in next year's draft anyway. So I'm going to say that they're going to give me the 6th pick. They're going to give me their 2025 first round pick as well because this will make the trade after like the draft and everything, so they can actually make that work. And I think that'll be enough for us to move Mikal Bridges over there. What does this mean then? We lose Mikal Bridges, right? He's off the squad now. Mikal Bridges off the team. We move everybody down one, and we have brought in Brandon Clark, and we've brought in Zaire. I don't know how to spell his name. Zaire Williams. This also gives us 2 new first-round picks. Grizzlies, 24 first. We want 24 first there and 25 first here. So these are now picks that we can use in the near future. This one we can use this year. This is the 6th overall pick. We're going to use this one up, and honestly, I'm just going to cross it off right now. So now we've actually put ourselves in not a better position than we were in before, but like we actually have a better pick than if we would have had our own pick this year, because I think the Nets would have had like the 8th pick this year or something like that. But anyway, this is what we're looking like now. And actually, I'm gonna move. Brandon Clark is technically our starting center now, and Sharp will be here. And then we'll have Clowney as the reserve. So that makes some sense. And then Zaire Williams can come in and be the reserve 3. So we've still got 5 roster spots left. We've got $21 million in cap space, which honestly still isn't like all that great. And we still have to re-sign some people. But we've got some flexibility now. So now going into the draft, what do we need? I'm looking at point guard right here. And looking at the mock draft, I'm looking at Rob Dillingham and I'm looking at Cody Williams. I like Cody Williams a lot, but I think Cody Williams taps out as like a 2nd or 3rd option. And, you might be able to make an argument that it's worth going after someone like that because I think he has a better chance of being really successful in the NBA, at least a better chance than Rob Dillingham. But Dillingham, as of late, he's shown a lot of scoring prowess, some takeover abilities, which are very rare. The questions are kind of like defensively, is he going to be able to play at the NBA level, even though he's got a high motor, and also like his finishing ability because he's a little bit small. But you know what? Like, we're putting him around like not a horrible like set of dudes. Like, Cam Johnson's going to be out there. We'll try to figure out something to put at the wing in free agency, but you got Cam Thomas who can take a lot of the scoring brunt of things. And so, I have to ask myself, do I want a Cody Williams on this team or do I want a Rob Dillingham? Like, Rob Dillingham might be more of a shoot for the stars type option, but there's also not a lot of point guards out there in free agency to go get. So it might make more sense just to go after him. You know what? Screw it. I'm taking Rob Dillingham on the team this year. So he's going to get 4 years, and with the 6th pick, I didn't mean to do that. We get 4 years out of him here, and I've got to find out how much money he's supposed to make. So he'll be making 6037, 1, 2, 3. Oops, not that many. One too many zeros. That'd be pretty cool, though, wouldn't it? So we got Rob Dillingham on the team now, and he's going to slot in at the starting point guard for us. So let's move Whitehead down. He's a backup now. Rob comes in as our starting point guard. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, 4 roster spots left, $15 million in cap space, and we've got some free agents. Our free agents include Nick Claxton, Dennis Smith Jr., Trenton Wofford, Jalen Wilson. Oops, not Jalen Wilson, Lonnie Walker. My bad. Oh, wait, yeah, we still have Jalen Wilson on the roster. What the heck? So Jalen Wilson has a partial guaranteed roster. I'm just not sure if my spreadsheet is completely up to date on this. So he's got the club option here, and then he hits restricted free agency. So for 2024, 2025, I can add Jalen Wilson on a partial guarantee for 1.891. So yeah, let's add Mr. Jalen. Is he even on here? He is on here. Perfect. I'm actually going to move him down here because my spreadsheet doesn't have the most up-to-date information on here. So he gets 1.891, 1, 2, 3. Did I do too many again? I did too many again. I can't count. Don't worry about it. But I've got him for 2 years if I still want to at that price. And Jalen Wilson is honestly, because he's been playing pretty solid, all said and done. I'm actually going to move Zaire down one, and we're going to put Jalen here for now. And this is stuff that you figure out in training camp and everything, right? But at least we got a cheap contract. Let's talk about center. Nick Claxton. I want to bring back Nick Claxton. I don't want to lose him for nothing. What is Nick Claxton going to go for? Nick Claxton having a very similar season to last season. Efficiency's fallen off a little bit. He's been hurt a little bit this year too, so that's part of it. But, you know, getting us 10 rebounds and 12 points every game. He's getting us 2.1 blocks, and he can guard the perimeter. Nick Claxton's a very valuable asset. So I'm presuming that Nick Claxton's going to want a decent chunk of money, and I'm prepared to give him a pretty decent chunk of money. So honestly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that I'm bringing Nick Claxton back. He's going to want to come back too because he's going to want a starting spot and everything. 25 million smackaroos right there. Welcome back to the team, Nick Claxton, for 4 seasons. Just straight up, all guaranteed right there. So a 4-year, $100 million contract. That's what you're paying for a starter at this point, especially an above average starter. And with that, I move everybody down just a little bit. So Brandon Clark, you're going to come here. I've got quite a few options at center now, but that's not the worst thing in the world. So I've got Nick Claxton now. And now we've got a decent little starting 5. Like, it's not the best ever, but you know what? We work with what we got. Dorian Finney-Smith instantly becomes somebody that we probably try to trade during the season, right? This team's not going to be that great, but that's okay. Like, we're trying to compete. We're trying to have a better cap situation. I know we're obviously still over the cap, but Ben Simmons comes off the books this year anyway, and we have mobility to move the next year. The point is, we got a young player that we want to start building around, start giving him some touches and everything, and we also acquired some more draft capital so that we have 2 picks next year. So as money starts coming down, we start to have more and more opportunities to build this thing. Maybe we get lucky at some point, someone starts to develop, maybe we get good a little bit quicker, and we've got a bunch of draft picks that we're sitting on later. So that's kind of the point right now, not trying to commit to anything too crazy, but still build where we can. And now we still have 2 other roster spots that we have to fill, and we're not doing anything more than a minimum contract because that's just how it is. So I'm looking at probably bringing in 2 guards here, and I immediately think I want to just bring Dennis Smith Jr. back. Where did my free agency thing go again? Yeah, so Dennis Smith Jr., he hasn't had like the most phenomenal season in the world, and we're kind of limited in terms of backup point guards out there. I'd rather just bring him back for another minimum contract, so that's what I'm going to do for old Dennis. Dennis Smith Jr. has been in the league for a couple of years now, so it looks like 2.5 is going to be the minimum contract for him, so let's bring Dennis Smith here onto the team. So it's going to be 2.5 here, and we're going to get him for 1 season. Dennis Smith instantly slots in as the backup guard. We're going to have a lot of scoring-oriented guards, which isn't the best thing in the world, but, you know, it is what it is. So I guess I'd just like to try and find another floor spacer or something that we can put on the team. So let's go take a look at just, like, free agents in general, primarily the shooting guard position, and see who's kind of out there. Gary Harris is kind of an interesting one. Gary Harris, 7 points a game this year, shot 38%. He's a pretty solid defender. Doesn't do a whole bunch else, but, you know, he has been on some winning basketball teams. Like, at least, I shouldn't say some winning basketball teams. He's been around some good players and stuff like that. Hasn't caused a whole lot of problems or anything. So I think just bringing in a solid kind of 3-and-D guy like Gary Harris for a minimum is probably the way to go about it. So we're going to throw Gary on the team, not Gary Trent Jr. That'd be nice. But no, we're going to get Gary Harris, and I already looked. The number is 2.91. So we're going to give him that. All right, for 1 season, and now we have a complete roster, and we can throw Gary Harris here as the backup too. So what did we do here? Right, what did we do for this team? We brought Nick Claxton back. That's a big one, right? We moved Mikal Bridges to Memphis. Memphis is thrilled about that. We moved Dennis Schroder over to Washington. They got the point guard that they wanted. We got to save some money in that move, in part so we could bring Nick Claxton back. With that, we got Rob Dillingham, a guy that we hope that we can build around a little bit. We got a future first round pick for next year, and we're just trying to position ourselves so that when money starts coming off the books, because we're just not in a great spot right now, the draft picks start to increase as the salary comes off the books, because this team just isn't built that well right now, and there's a lot of money committed, and so we just want to try and build what we can. It's not all going to happen in a season, but we've got players to watch now. Like Rob Dillingham is a guy that we can watch, right? Like Jalen Wilson, Zaire Williams. We'll see if we can unlock anything in Zaire. Until then, Dorian Finney-Smith can be a leader for them. We got Cam Johnson. Ben Simmons will play some point minutes for us coming off the bench, which is good because we have a lot of guards. Cam Thomas can score all the points he wants on this team. Happy for him. And we've got Nick Claxton around on a $25 million contract. When you have a rookie point guard, I want to have like a run, jump, and dunk center that's going to play some defense to kind of help him out. It's just going to be easy assists, like easy pick and roll reads for him to start his career. I just think it's important that we have a guy like that. And then we also got guys like Brandon Clark, where coming off injuries, like he could end up being a really valuable asset to this team. And, you know, we're not incentivized to lose right now because we don't have our pick. So we win as many games as we can. And with that, I think that's going to conclude this Nets offseason. I know that this isn't like the prettiest thing to look at always, but again, this is an ideal offseason. It's not win a championship the next season, right? That's just not realistic, and I don't like to talk like that. But y'all let me know. Like, let me know in the comments, or do any of these trades seem unreasonable to you? I'm sure they will to somebody, right? It just is what it is. But yeah, y'all let me know, and let me know what other teams you guys want to see me do this for. Don't make me do the Bulls. It's just gonna make me sad. But if you guys request it, I gotta do it. That's just supply and demand, right? But anyway, I really appreciate you guys as always. Subscribe, like. We're on our way to 1,000, right? On my way to 1,000. So hey, appreciate it as always, and we'll see y'all later.